All right, fantastic. Mark, thank you for the introduction. Appreciate it. Glad to see all the excitement that you guys are building over there with your with your Facebook, your group, and the podcast. Very exciting. I mean, the wealth of information you're providing for the industry is incredible.
Thank you.
And one of the things that really excites me about working with you guys is the forward thinking that you do. I mean, you're constantly talking about not just the equipment, which so many companies do. They talk about strictly equipment because that's what they're in business for, is to sell equipment. But you really dive deeper into that, and you really want your clients and the industry to be educated on not just the equipment, but also the business model, the pricing, the costing, the how to be successful, how to grow their business organically and through social media and through different channels.
Thanks, Marco. I appreciate that. And, you know, I mean, honestly, part of the reason is selfish. It's because a huge percentage of our current customers that are buying equipment for us just this month, are existing customers that have bought embroidery machines or DTG printers in the past. So, you know, we're trying to make sure that all of our businesses do well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, you know, Mark, here is staggering statistics. Nielsen did a survey. It's a little bit older now, but it was specific to our industry. And Nielsen, of course, one of the most respected survey companies out there, and they were contracted by a publication in this industry to do a survey. And a staggering high percentage, and I apologize, I should have had that number in front of me here, but it was something like 80% of people that go into this industry have some kind of failure within 5 years. And you know, it's scary, right? And probably a lot of people don't want to talk about that. But the reality is that the common core of that was the ones that fail typically did not have a good grasp of their business. They weren't educating themselves on costing, on how to grow their business, opportunities, where are opportunities, like even something as basic as what to charge for the product. And so it's really exciting to see that you're really enabling the other group, the profitable 20%, right? You're helping those grow, and that's exciting. So hopefully some of the stuff that we're going to present today will speak to that. We'll give some pointers on how to grow your business organically. And today specifically, I've done several webinars with you guys, and in the past we've talked about DecoNetwork, we've talked about the opportunity that it provides, we've talked about the solution itself. Specifically today, though, I really want to talk about the true cost of doing business, and specifically one element of the business. You know, in the last 6 to 8 months as a company, we have really gone down a journey of understanding our clients, and we've done tons and tons of calls, surveys, client visits, you name it, talking with clients, understanding their business well, understanding the challenges that they face. And one of the things that we found in the last 6 to 8 months is that a lot of clients that are successful, by the way, that you know, or to a certain extent, have really no idea what an order costs them to create. Something as basic as an order. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Is how much does an order cost? Well, let's talk real quick before we get started. Again, my name is Marco. I'm the Business Development Manager for DecoNetwork. And at the very end, we'll talk about, there's a couple things I want to show you guys, so make sure you stick around to the end, because I think you'll be pretty excited about this new tool that we've created based on 6 to 8 months worth of research, and actually years of research, but 6 to 8 months specifically on ROI. So we created an ROI document, calculator, if you will, which I'm excited to share with you guys. I'm actually, this is the first official launch of it. We've been showing it to tons of clients on a one-on-one basis, but today at Coldesi here is the official unveiling, and that's how important you are to us, Mark.
That's great. I appreciate that.
To your group first.
Yes.
No problem. All right, so let's talk about what makes you profitable. Let's make sure that you're profitable. So a couple of key components to making sure you're profitable. Now, of course, at the end of the day, you know, did I bring in more than I spent? Did I get more in my left pocket than my right pocket took out? And it sounds like a real simple mathematical equation. You know, it's this minus this, and yes, I did make money. But it's unfortunately a little bit more complex than that. Making sales doesn't mean you're profitable. This is one of the biggest mistakes that we have found over the last few months of research, and again, talking to countless clients. and looking at sales figures and matrix and all these different things, is that the common misconception in this industry is, hey, I am making sales, therefore I am profitable. I know, Mark, that's just not the case.
Right. There's a big
lot of other
difference
factors
between revenues and
huge
profits.
Difference. That's right. That's exactly right. Estimating your costs. Estimating your costs is really a bad idea. Just one of the biggest mistakes that we've seen is that people that just estimate their costs, that say, well, I think it's this, or my best guess is this.
Right.
It's
shirt's about
a recipe for disaster.
The ink is about $1, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly, and oftentimes, not your clients, but oftentimes they'll go to a trade show and somebody says, well, the ink's probably a nickel, and the shirts are probably $1.25.
Right.
And so that's the only factor they consider. Well, of course, there's lots of variables. What the ink cost could be considerably more if the image is bigger. The shirts, that's typically when someone's quoting you a shirt, they're probably quoting you for a white small, right? That's on closeout. Right. Your actual cost might be closer to $2.50 or $3. Those kind of things. And so estimating these things without taking into consideration other factors, and we're going to talk about what those other factors are in a minute, it's really a bad idea. You really need to know the full scheme, the full picture. A recent survey found that over 80% undercalculated their cost. And I don't know the exact figure. I would think we're still crunching numbers, but it was probably closer to about 82, 83%. Undercalculated their costs. They thought their costs were, this dollar amount per order. In reality, was much higher.
Right.
Profitability isn't always tied into what you sell a product for. So you said, okay, again, the ink is this, the shirt is this. I pay $4 for these two things, and therefore I sell them for $10. Therefore, I made $6. Wrong. What about shipping? What about handling? What about admin costs? What about production orders, purchase orders, that kind of thing?
Right.
All of a sudden, that $6 that you thought you profited, you probably profited $1, and in some cases, $10 isn't even enough.
Right.
So I really want to talk a little bit about the profitability ratio, something that we've really been hammering down with our clients. We want them to be just like you. We want our clients to be the most successful clients in the industry. We want our clients that are on DecoNetwork and that have worked with Coldesi to be very well educated. We want them to be very successful. So one of the things that we're talking about is this profitability ratio. Now, what is it? It's basically just a measure of profitability. There's all kinds of different formulas that you can look at. There's different types of profitability ratios. Some would be gross profit margin, GPM, operating margin, return on assets, return on sales, and of course the very popular one, return on investment. All these are important. You need to know these, and there's formulas for every single one of them. You may or may not know that.
Yeah.
But what I really want to talk about right now is the GPM, the gross profit margin. Now, gross profit margin is quite interesting. It's a real simple formula. It's GM equals GP divided by NS times 100.
I have no idea what any of that means, Mark.
Okay, good. Well, neither do I. I was hoping you would tell me.
Okay.
Actually, I looked it up. So your GM is your gross margin. Your GP is your gross profit. So that's what you sold everything, and then NS is your net sales. So that's your actual sales there. We're going to divide that. We're going to times that by 100. And so let's just look at Marco Polo's. Right now, I've used this company for several of my demonstrations. You guys have probably seen this. You've heard of this. Marco Polo's, of course, fictitious company, but hey, Plan B if I ever need to go that way.
There you go.
But
this doesn't work out for you, Marco.
Yeah, right. I think I'm going to be all right, but just in case, I've got this in my back pocket. Marco Polo's is a great company, let's say, and Marco Polo sells to schools, retail. It's got a retail shop, club teams, you name it. Probably much like all the audience that is listening today say, hey, I do that. I could be Marco Polo's. Probably could. But let's just say, for example, Marco Polo's sold $250,000 worth of products this year. Now the net, excuse me, the gross profit was $52,000. That's very common. That's while these numbers were, of course, fictitious. There is no Marco Polo's. These are actual, percentages. This is very, very close to a real number what a lot of companies would see. So I've sold $250,000, but the margin itself is 52,000. So once I factor in my labor costs, my electricity, my shirt costs, my ink costs, everything else, I've deducted from 250,000 in sales. I've really made 52,000. So what is my percentage? What's my margin? Well, again, I'm gonna divide 250,000 divided by 52,000 times 100, and my gross margin is 21%. So I had a 21% markup. Now, just to kind of factor that in, most salespeople expect to get about a 10% commission. So you got to pay a sales rep. Typically, that'll come off the top. So really, you probably made about an 11% margin. So not very exciting when you start thinking, well, I mean, $250,000.
Not thinking that you're making as much, the same amount of money as the sales guy.
Exactly. And the thought is, hey, $250,000 is a lot of money. It's really a lot of sales. It's $250,000. It's to most people, they say, well, if I can make $250,000, I'm set. The reality is your take home is probably considerably less. What's the problem, though? The real problem with this industry, the issue with this, with the reason why these margins can typically be so low is this. Our industry has a really, really long process. Now, check this out, Mark. Most people don't realize this, and in fact, as we were talking to clients, as we were doing our ROI calculations, as we were, investigating this, as we've sat with clients and we've gone through their process and we've talked through it with them, and visited them, and just kind of were a fly on the wall while clients walked in and just took notes. One of the things that most people underestimate is how long of a process it takes to take an order. Now, we're only going to talk about just taking an order. There's other processes involved, but specifically on taking an order and the workflow, it's a very long process. Let me break it down for you, if you will.
Yeah, please.
I've kind of lumped these together, so there's actually more steps in this, but for simplicity's sake, I've kind of lumped them a little bit together. So I think there's several processes here, but you can fill in the blanks and know there's more. So let's just say the client comes to you and they say, hey, I want a product. Well, they need to select the product. That typically means they got to go through a catalog, and if you've seen the latest offerings from Sanmar or SNS or Boudica Rhodes, I mean, they're huge catalogs, right? There's a lot of stuff. And so they walk in and they say, hey, I want to get some shirts for my baseball team. Great, fantastic. Here's a catalog. Take a look at it. And so they got to thumb through that, and that takes time. Once they select the product, now you got to go to a different catalog, get the pricing for that particular product, right? What's next? Well, now they need a design, so they got to go through the design catalog, completely different catalog, big book. You've seen Great Notions or Digital Arts or any one of those huge, ginormous books, lots of books, can take another extensive amount of time. Once they've selected that, then you got to go and look for that on that disk. If it's multi-disk or if it's on the cloud, you got to go log in and try to download that. Secondly, the business owner is now going to type up a quote. You got to give them a quote. And so they want the quote. You want to create a mock-up, a visual mock-up. That's it. Clients are so visual now, and so they want to see what it's going to look like. What's that shirt going to look like with my logo? And so you might have to open up Corel Draw or Adobe Illustrator, get that shirt, superimpose the image on there, and create a PDF of that. So you create the mock-up and you create a PDF. Secondly, the business owner is going to go ahead and send that quote out to the client via an email so they can have it, or print it out if they're still there at your office.
Right.
And by now, they've probably been at your office for at least 35 to 40 minutes. And this is hopefully they don't want to talk about the weather or politics or the latest post on Facebook or whatever else.
And the worst case scenario is that they're in the office. But I mean, this also can happen, a little bit at a time over days, right? I mean, somebody can send you these things. So it's going to be the same block of time. It may just happen 10 minutes at a time.
That's exactly right. And that's even worse because there's room for errors. Email strings, did you skip my last email? Oh, no, I didn't see it. I got stuck in my spam folder. You name it, right?
Right.
And so follow-up is not always good. Sometimes you get the gatekeeper or they're out to lunch, and so you got to call back. So this isn't even accounting for any of that, but you're absolutely right. Some other things to talk about. So the next step is, the owner follows up for the order approval and deposit. You need typically to collect a deposit, so you're going to get them to sign off on that order or to approve it or whatever that is. The business owner now has to order those items from Sanmar or SNS or Boudica Rhodes or whoever they order it from, right? They're going to send out that purchase order. So now they got to consolidate their orders for the day, make one gigantic order and send it off. Then they got to receive it in a couple days from now. So they got to go back and look at those purchase orders and sit for about half an hour and go through every single one of those orders and try to receive them.
Right.
Then production can start to begin now. And as you can see, we've got hours invested already.
Right.
Production is completed, and so our production guys, they finished that in about 2 or 3 days, and now I got to call the client up and follow up with them and let them know that the shirts are ready to come pick them up. And again, best case scenario, I contact them and they pick up the phone and they're great. I'll be there tomorrow. Worst case scenario, endless phone calls, emails, voicemails, you name it. Then the business owner needs to collect the balance, and if they came in, then they'll hopefully give you a credit card, and you can do that, or otherwise you have to call them up and get a credit card from them again, and they may or may not have that available to them at that time. Then the business owner has to add the order to QuickBooks, and they file away for another day, because hopefully they'll come back in 6 months and say, hey, I want to order that again, and you don't have to go through this all over again. You can go through some of the steps.
Right.
So as you can see, it's a very time and our industry is very much a service-oriented industry. People like to talk to people. In the past we've talked about DecoNetwork, and we've talked about the efficiencies of using a website and what have you, and those are great, and a lot of people are successful with that. But the reality is that people still want to talk to people. It's a very service-oriented industry. People love to ask you, hey, how blue is a blue? Is a shirt going to shrink? Can I get a better price if I talk to you versus order on the phone? Those kind of things. And so what you want to do is you want to simplify that process, because it's still very service-oriented. Now, the question is, all right, Marco, you've given me all these steps. How do I make more money? The reality is there's 2 ways to make more money. One is, hey, charge the clients more.
Right.
And explain to them that you got to charge them more. And this is certainly a viable option. You can definitely do that.
And it's one that I usually recommend.
Good. It is one that is a little bit harder to implement, because oftentimes you're bidding against others. The client is price conscious. You may not be the guy. You don't necessarily want to be the cheapest guy in town, but you also may not necessarily want to be the most expensive guy in town, or if your quality can afford it, then that's fine. But oftentimes, charging more is good, but it also has its own challenges, right? You have to justify those additional costs. Keep in mind that most of your clients don't realize the amount of work and artistry that goes into what you are doing for them. Most of your clients they think, hey, you put it on you get these shirts, put it on a printer, it prints them out, and you basically pull them out and throw them in a box, and that's it. So they oversimplify the process. They don't understand the amount of work and preparation that goes into creating this. The other option to make more money is quite simply to become more efficient.
Yeah.
And how can DecoNetwork help you with this? Well, charging the clients more, you guys can easily figure that one out. Hey, charge an extra quarter, 50 cents, whatever it is.
Right.
You can easily do that. But becoming more efficient, well, guess what? We've got a great tool called BusinessHub. And BusinessHub is all about efficiency. So let me take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look. I would like to show you this. Hang on just a second here. So with BusinessHub, let me show you. So here we go. All right. So I am on my DecoNetwork site, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in. All right, fantastic. And Mark, for this demonstration, I'm not going to spend too much time on any of the other items, such as the front end or the designer or any of that stuff. We've gone through it in the past.
Yep.
Right now, specifically, we're talking about efficiencies, and we're talking about how do I become efficient. BusinessHub is built in every level of DecoNetwork. It's got it's cloud-based, so there's no software to download. You can do this on your iPad. You can do this on your Android tablet, on your phone. You can do this on your laptop at the office, on your on the beach in Bora Bora, wherever you're at, right? You can do this. No software to download. So if they call you up and you're on the side of the freeway or side of the road, and you need to pull over and say, yeah, let's talk, right? You can certainly take that order right there. Now, BusinessHub is very comprehensive. I'm not going to spend too much time, but quickly you could see a couple of things on here. First of all, I'm going to be able to see all my orders. I can see exactly where all my orders. I've got a quick news feed. Now, this is really great for those people that need help with being organized, right? So as things are happening, I quickly see exactly what process they're happening in. So if a client asks me a question, they want to know, is this shirt available in red? They made a payment. Guess what? Remember those inefficiencies that we talked about of having to follow up with them, call them, play phone tag with them.
Right.
They're gone because I've got it right here. If I send them a note, it's going to list this here so that I know exactly what that process is. Now I'm going to quickly create a quote because quoting is one of the most time-consuming, as you saw, processes. Now we normally charge in this industry. We charge for the print, right? We charge for the print.
Yeah.
But we don't charge for the time it takes to do the order.
Yeah.
Nobody charges for that. Isn't that scary, crazy?
No, and you know, I mean, when I talk to people, Marco, and I don't want to interrupt you, you know, what they do is they start with how much they think they want to make an hour. Mm-hmm. And then they'll charge the machine operating time. So if it takes, they'll figure, okay, if it takes me 12 minutes to embroider a cap, I can do 5 caps in an hour. I want to make $50 an hour, so I need to make my profit $10. But they don't take into consideration everything that we've talked about so far. So at the end of the month, they've got an empty bank account.
That's exactly right, Mark. And so the fact that you guys are talking about this, that you're educated, not too many companies are. So folks, listen up. Listen, you got a great partner in Coldesi. They are talking about this. They're bringing to light something that hasn't really been talked about too much, and that's exactly right. This element of it can be much more expensive than the other element of it because it's labor. Labor is typically one of your most expensive cost factors in a business. So let's go ahead and just make a quote out. So let's just say Marco calls me up and says, hey, I need a quote. Great. So I'll go ahead and pull this out, and the client says, well, I need some T-shirts. Now, because it's cloud-based, I don't have to worry about the catalogs. I don't have to worry about thumbing through things. I can ask, well, what are you looking for? Like, are you looking for 100? So I think it's 100% cotton. If I know the style, I can look for it. I'm looking for the Gildan right here. I can certainly do that right from there. Or if I know I'm looking for some youth shirts or some sport shirts. Now, we've got over 14,000, actually it's closer to 15,000 products now built into DecoNetwork from suppliers like Sanmar, SNS, Alpha Broder, Bodick and Rhodes, just to name a few.
Right.
So we've got lots and lots of different products from them, and you can turn whatever products you want on. You can turn those on, not a problem, because it is cloud-based. Again, it's really simple to select the items that I want, and I can go ahead and just pick the items.
Yeah, and you can do this on the phone, or of course this operates with a DecoNetwork website. So you could just send a customer to the site, say, here, pick the shirt.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. So it's self-sufficient, or if you want to assist them in that customer service that we talked about earlier,
yeah,
absolutely you can do that. Now, what's really neat about it is you don't have to look at the colors available. It already tells you which colors are available. You can enable or disable certain colors. Now, what about the quantities? That's one of the biggest things that oftentimes that coach, that team mom doesn't know what quantities they want. They know they need, you got 25 kids in the team, they need 25 shirts. They just don't know they don't know the sizes. Now, notice that some of the bigger sizes, the Costco's, are very, very standard in our industry. This can be a big factor. Let's kind of put that off to the side right now. We're not going to talk about it for anymore, but just note that there's a cost variation. At this point, I'm a little bit of a disadvantage because I know I have 25 shirts, but I don't know what sizes they are. So we're going to have to come back to that a little bit later. Now, I ask her, what design do you want? Now, remember, I had to look for a design. That's typically a very time-consuming process. But because I have access to their past designs right from here, I can go through and I can say, you know what, we did the general, the hockey one, we did the Memphis one.
Oh,
I can look at stock ones. I can do searches. But I can look at all their past designs and say, is that the one? I say, yes, absolutely, that's it. I can change the text if I want. But at this point, I'm just going to go and leave it as is. Now, the system will automatically calculate the cost. It knows you've set your cost, you've set your blank product price, and you've set your decoration price, and so it'll automatically put a unit price. If there's any type of discount that this client gets, so it'll automatically detect that. If they are on free shipping, it detects that. If there's a rush order fee, I can set that up. It knows that they are in a net 30% deposit with a net 30, and it tells you how much they need to collect. And so at this point, I'm going to save and I'm going to email that. Now, this email template can be customized specifically for that for your business. So it'll say whatever you want to say. I'm just going to copy that link. But once I click on OK, now again, very few buttons to click. Now, if you notice, so Mark, that was really, really fast. If I had to type this up, if I had to put this in QuickBooks, if I had to write this up, most of the people on this webinar right now are thinking, "Wow, I wish I could do it that fast." And you could if you had DecoNetwork. But let's go ahead and let's bring that up. Now let's just say, I'm not going to wait for that email, but let's just say that that coach, that team mom, whoever, gets that email, and they click on that link that I just highlighted. When they click on that link, what they're going to get is they're going to get, it's going to log them into your site with their login credentials. They're going to be able to see all their past orders, their past quotes, past, designs, everything.
Yeah.
They get a really nice looking quote with the image, so it reduces the errors. You don't have to worry about them say, well, that's not really what I thought I was going to get. Well, you signed off on it. Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to get.
Right. There's a picture of it right here.
That's right. And by you approving it, you've said this is what I want. Now, let's just say that team mom says, great, that's what I need. Okay, wonderful. So they're going to go ahead and approve it, and they have to approve it. And now here's the problem, though. I need to tell the store owner how many I need. So I'm going to order, let's just say 5 of these, 5 of these, 5 of these, 5 of these, and 5 of these. Now, the issue now becomes, well, that triple X is going to, it's more expensive. So I have to go back and requote it. Again, one of those things that killed my efficiencies. But because you're on DecoNetwork and you've set these prices up already, it knows that there's a price variation because of the larger sizes and will automatically adjust those prices based on those particular sizes. So it'll ask me to reconfirm that quote. Once they do that, they have to put their credit card number on there because there was a 30% deposit. So it's going to ask that team mom, please put your credit card in, and then she'll go ahead and do that, or he'll go ahead and do that.
See, I think that Marco, that's a big piece that's missing from the standard off-the-shelf shopping carts.
Yes,
is getting that deposit. That is a big deal. I didn't even realize that.
It's a huge deal because you're right. The off-the-shelf shopping carts are designed for our industry. They're not designed to recognize that there's variations in sizes equals pricing.
Right.
Variations in the colors or the shade of the particular product changes the pricing. Because when you go Shopify or Belusion or any one of those guys, great solutions, but they're great to sell widgets. And you and I don't sell widgets. The clients don't sell widgets. They sell something that is very complex if you think about it. The size of the shirt will change the price. What goes on the shirt will change the price. If it's embroidery, will change the price. If it's screen print, will change the price. If it's DTG, it'll change the price. If it's a triple X, it'll change the price. If it's a different shade, it'll change the price. If it's of a different cut, it will change. All these variables can certainly change the price, and that's why having a solution like DecoNetwork is really important, because then you can be specific to that particular product. Now the system knows that I've gone ahead and I've logged in and I paid the deposit. Now as a store owner, ding, 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 I have been notified that a payment has been made. In fact, if I go to my news feed, I can see that the quote was sent out and in fact it was approved. Now I have to, as a store owner now, here's that other inefficiency, was I got to try to figure out what do I need to order from Sanmar or SNS or whoever I'm going to order from. So I got to consolidate all my orders from the last day or 2 days or 3 days. Now, this was one of those things that we, a couple of years ago, started asking our clients, how much time do you spend doing purchase orders? And it's funny because no one really ever asked them that. And so they didn't know how to answer that question. So we went through and we said, okay, well, let's give you an example. You've got 10 orders. You've got to make those into one order. And they said, I never really thought about that. And so they got to consolidate all that. And then when they receive them, they got to separate those. And so there was a lot of room for error. And what we found out, and what they found out, collectively we found out together, was that it was one of those things that was killing their production because there was so much time invested in just something as simple as ordering the garments.
Yeah.
So what DecoNetwork has done is we built this thing called purchase orders right into BusinessHub. And what it basically does is it looks at all your orders. It tells you what you need to order. It tells you where every single order is at as far as the process it's in. It looks at each individual order, and it tells you, well, look, you need to order 2 items from Sanmar, 5 from SNS, 1 from Relawise, or whoever it is that you've enabled.
Okay.
And you can click on Create Purchase Order. It'll tell you what items you need, who you need them for. So it says, hey, I need 1 for this particular order, and I want to order 5 for stock. One of the new things that we just added earlier this year was we added the ability to have live ordering through various suppliers. So okay. Sanmar, SNS, Americana, Bodega Rose, you can actually do live ordering. What that basically means is if you have an account with them, you can set up your account where it will not only give you your actual price, because you might have different prices based on on how much you purchase from them.
Right.
It'll tell you how much stock they have, and each supplier provides a little bit of different data than the other, but for the most part, they all kind of do this, and it'll tell you how much stock. So you know if I need 2, but they've only got 3 in stock, I may want to order some extra ones just so that so if I burn through one, I've got an extra one, right?
Yeah.
And so we now have it where literally all you have to do is click on create purchase order. I don't have that button turned on because it's a demo store, but I would do that, and it would, through the system, it would send that purchase order directly to Sanmar, in this case SNS, and it would order that digitally for me, so I don't have to fax it, I don't have to call them, I don't have to email it to them.
You just hit the button and you're done.
Just hit the button and you're done. When you receive it, that purchase order, it'll tell you what each one, you ordered 5 of them for this order, so you can allocate that, and you can digitally receive it also right from the system, so you're not having to deal with multiple systems or anything like that. From here, your production people can come in and they could say, all right, well, the shirts are in, let's take a look at that, and they could download the artwork. They know if this is a particular item, download the artwork right from here. They click on it, it downloads onto their local drive, and they can produce it. Once it's produced, they mark it as production is complete. It notifies the client. So remember, we normally have to call the client and tell them, hey, your shirts are ready, come pick it up, or I'm going to ship them to you, here's your tracking number. I don't have to do that anymore. In fact, I don't even have to worry about my production guy misspelling the client's email address or whatever. The system will automatically send that to the client, properly formatted, it looks professional. Maybe you've got a link in there to say, hey, come back and check out the new products that we're going to have, and use this coupon code for free shipping on your next order, or whatever it is, to try to get them to buy again. You don't have to worry about them making those mistakes because it's all within the system. It's all built into the system. Mark, efficiency is really important, and what we've done is using BusinessHub, and there's more tools, but what I want to do briefly is I want to show you this really new tool that we've got that's pretty exciting. What we found out is BusinessHub has been in DecoNetwork for about 4 years now, maybe even longer than that, 5 years. But it's really in the last 2 years really taken hold, and clients' adoption rate has gone through the roof. So much so that sales through BusinessHub versus sales through the web platform have more than doubled the sales that are going through the web. And what that tells us is that, again, it's a very service-oriented industry. It's still built on a handshake. It's still built on a conversation.
So what you're saying is the difference between ordering, a customer going in and ordering online through a website versus just using this platform to literally take an order in real time.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So in the last 2 years, sales through BusinessHub have more than doubled, and I think it's probably closer to tripled the sales that go through the website. And the website's incredibly powerful. As you know, in past webinars, we've talked about affiliate stores that you can create, campaign stores, team stores. We actually have some webinars on that coming up in the near future. But very, very powerful. It can touch much more people than the BusinessHub. Yet the BusinessHub closes more business, believe it or not. It's incredible. Wow. So I think it talks about that, that really points to the fact that clients, your clients, our clients really need a business tool, not just a website. That's what DecoNetwork is. That's what BusinessHub is. Now, I want to unveil something real quick with you here. So if you go to DecoNetwork.com/ROI, we've got this new tool built into DecoNetwork, and you can really see for yourself how much more money you will make if you use the BusinessHub versus using a traditional way of orders. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It takes about 10 minutes to do it. I'm not going to spend the whole 10 minutes, but I just want to briefly show you some stuff, Mark, and encourage everybody later on to come and try it themselves. But let's just say, we're going to use your US dollars, and this is how many quotes do you do each month? So let's just say we do about 15 quotes a month, right? Okay. And then for every 10 quotes, how many do you convert into an order? So let's just say half of them turn into an order.
That would be great.
That wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be bad. And then how many orders do you currently do a month? Now that could be from quotes and orders. So let's just say I do 12, for example. Okay. And then of the orders, how many of them are repeat orders? Let's just say 2 of them are repeat orders. And then what are your labor costs? So most labor, from our research, most of the labor here is going to be about $13.50 an hour. Would you concur with that?
That's going to vary widely by region, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It can, vary by region, but that's typically about average is what we found. Now, with DecoNetwork, as you can see, if you look at the ROI, and there's all kinds of incredible mathematics and algorithms that are going on in the back end, but basically, to create an order using traditional method, it costs you about $34.50. Now, that was on that 15-step process that I talked about. We went through and we evaluated hundreds and hundreds of clients on how they do things manually, and then came up with a formula. If you use DecoNetwork, as I just did right now, same end result. You still get the order. The result is the same, but the process is different. The difference is $31.74 per order. That's efficient.
Okay,
now,
I get it.
Now, if you go on and you can say, okay, well, how do you do your orders? Well, I use Excel, and I use email, and I use CorelDRAW, and I convert to PDF, and you can kind of go through this, and then you can continue on, and it gets really specific. If you want to get into more detail, you can certainly do that.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to point out is at the very end, I use this phone. At the very end, you can talk about consolidating orders and the purchase order. If you put purchase order, it gets into really finite details, and so you can really drill down to see in your particular instance how much it will cost you to do in DecoNetwork versus your traditional methods.
Very cool.
Now, yeah, and what's really neat about this is it'll tell you a cost at the end, and then you could actually get a report at the very end here. So do you intend to use DecoNetwork? Yes, and let's just say we want to use it.
So if you're trying to convince your spouse or partner that this is the right way to go.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so one of the things that we're also offering is, of course, a free detail report. It'll go through everything. It'll show you specific to your business what your ROI is. The other thing that we're offering, and this is going to be for a limited time only, and mark my words, Mark, your group is the very first group to see this.
Okay.
For a limited time, we are actually producing and offering a free 1-hour session with one of our personal trainers, which we normally charge $90. Now, of course, they have to be on DecoNetwork because they'll go through and they'll show them how to become more efficient using BusinessHub. And if you're not on DecoNetwork, then that's kind of
that's awesome.
Point. But,
that is awesome.
But if you're on DecoNetwork and you take this, which will take you about 10 minutes, you take this report and you do this and you fill out your information, you'll get a voucher for a free personal trainer. It's worth $90, and they'll go through and they'll look at your numbers and they'll say, okay, I'm going to show you how to make more money.
Wow, that's great. That is great.
So, Mark, a couple things I want to show you really quickly here. So let's talk about pricing. Actually, hang on. Sorry, wrong button. So really quickly, if there's anybody on the line here that doesn't know what DecoNetwork costs and can I afford it, the beauty of BusinessHub is that it's available on all our levels, whether you're at the $89 price point or at the $9.99 a month price point. With DecoNetwork, there's no activation fee, there's no contract, there's no lock-in agreement, there's no transaction fees, none of that. At simply $89 a month, you get the BusinessHub plus one web store, with 3 users. All the BusinessHub tools that I just showed you are included in all the levels, regardless of what level you select.
Right.
So if we go back and look at our ROI, this easily, just in my time saving, not only pays for my subscription, but actually made me more money. And that's what software is supposed to do. That's what business tools are supposed to do.
And that's not doing a lot of orders a month either. I mean, you are very conservative in the number of orders that you're dealing with.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's kind of funny because we've done this with lots of clients. Before we put this formula together, we did kind of a before, during, and after screenshot with clients. And so, before we had the formula, we talked to them about it. We visited them. We asked them about about the average time it takes to do an order, and we talked to them about every single process. As we were working through the formulas, we validated a lot of the data with them and said, well, look, if you do it this way, does this sound right? And yes, and if you do it this way, and we validated it with lots and lots of clients. And then after the fact, so this is something that we haven't, again, released yet to the general public here, the first group, but we have gone back to those clients that were initially with us, and we've shown them the end results. And it's really exciting, actually. A lot of them have said, wow, I either A, did not realize that, or B, they realized that there was savings in using BusinessHub. They just didn't realize how much savings they were getting using the BusinessHub.
Well, excellent.
Mark, that's it for me.
That's fantastic, Marco. Thank you very much. You did a great job, and I learned a lot today, so I appreciate that. all you folks out there, there was a handout provided. You should be able to see that in your control panel. It's just a PDF file full of helpful links. I'm going to add this ROI calculator to it for the next webinar, and I also chatted out a link to coldesi.com/live, and there you can see the schedule for our upcoming webinars, which we've got another one with Marco and DecoNetwork coming up soon. So thanks for attending, and please come see us again.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks everyone.
Marco.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.